I played the original Jak and Daxter for the first time in 2022, and I absolutely loved it, thanks to its collectathon nature and overall chill vibes. So when I booted up Jak 2, I was expecting more of the same. So when the game started like this, Jak's first ever spoken line in the series is this:
"I'm gonna kill Praxis!"
And the first new gameplay feature introduced was this:
"Let me figure out how to open the security locks for the chair so I can..."
Yeah, I'll be the first person to put my hand up and admit
I didn't know what was happening, and then I thought I knew what was happening, but what I thought I knew was happening wasn't what was happening.
This 60-second period made it very clear that Jak 2 was a much edgier game than its predecessor. What wasn't made as clear though was why the is this game so hard? Seriously, if you did play it and beat this game back when it came out, I need you to go to the comments and tell me how long do you think it took, and do you remember it being like super difficult? Jak 2 introduces a ton of new mechanics to this series, all of which are great ideas, in theory. In practice though, most of these changes are either poorly implemented or poorly executed, and creates difficulty in places where it has absolutely no right being. Now, this isn't to say that there are no fun or well done parts of the game, but the overall experience is overshadowed by a number of other things. That specific number of things is 5, and I'm going to tell you about each of them, so
let's count them down.
Starting with number 1. The glorified hub world that is Haven City. Now, I don't know if maybe all the colors hadn't been discovered yet, or the game director said they wanted Jak 2 to be darker than the original and there was just a serious misunderstanding, but this world is coded almost exclusively in grey, brown, and like a weird swamp green. Here's a free piece of advice for you. If someone asks you to add color to something and you choose to go with swamp green as your color of choice, then not only have you failed the brief, but the typical reaction you should be expecting is,
"Boy, have you lost your mind, cause I'll help you find it."
Now, aside from this lack of color, there's nothing to do in the hub world, nothing to collect from what I could find, no one to interact with that isn't a mission, nowhere to really explore, nothing. Well, that's not entirely true. I guess there is technically one thing you can do in it, but number 2, the hover vehicles. Not great. Again, cool idea, but mechanically, they handle like someone strapped sticks of butter to your feet and told you to hit a bunch of sharp turns at pace. Whenever I thought I was beginning to adjust to the floaty feeling of each hover car, the game would go and humble me real quick.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
Number 3. Every mission in the game will basically boil down to one of 5 different things: escort missions, time trials, racing, platforming, and whatever the heck this is. While I'm not crazy about any of these mission types, escort missions in particular are just... I remember being introduced to the concept of escort missions for the first time at my friend's house watching them play Resi 4, and I was less than impressed.
Wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
Which, to be clear, was in reference to Ashley, not the game overall, don't at me. All these mission types are even more jarring now that more modern open world games have either improved those types of missions or just cut them from their games entirely. Having such a little variety in the types of missions really begins to hurt when you realize they're not split up into side missions and main missions either. Then you have the fatigue from repetition, and my professional opinion of them comes down to
bullshit. Bullshit. Derivative. That I love. I absolutely love.
What can I say? I grew up in the PS2 era, so like many others from that time, I have a soft spot for platformers, and that's something that Jak 2 still gets right. However, number 4. Not to be outdone by his younger brother who is absolutely armed to the bloody teeth, Jak's now packing heat to go with his whole edgelord deal. Now, before I hook into this like it's
A succulent Chinese meal.
let me start by saying, I do think that guns were the right choice for this game, and it feels like a step in a good direction. Now that's been said, the guns in Jak 2 might just be the worst guns I've used in a game. It's a third-person game with guns that has no aim down sights, no aim over the shoulder, no strafing, and no lock on. Yeah. Just let all of that sink in for a second. You aim with the left stick, and those of you playing along at home might also recognize this as the stick that you use for movement. So anytime you try and line up a long distance shot, you basically look like this. And what makes it even more glaring is that Ratchet & Clank found a way to make all of their guns feel good and control well just 1 year earlier. Some weapons, like the shotgun for instance, get a pass because they're designed more around distance than accuracy. But it's the rifle in particular that can let you down hard. When people are at a distance shooting you while you're trying to platform your way through an area, it is downright rage-inducing. Which brings me to point number 5, and what is the most frustrating and unnecessary part of this entire experience: the checkpointing. Oh my god. Just where is it? It's non-existent. Death will take you right back to the start of your level in all but a few rare cases. So whenever I died and I realized I had to do it all over again, my reaction was always consistent.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Now you may be thinking, dying in a game and going back to the start happens in a lot of games. It's just part of the challenge. And you're right. For those types of games. In games that use death and resetting progression in a level as a point of difficulty, there are other things in there that balance it out. In roguelikes, sure, you die and go back to the start, but you've collected experience or abilities to help you get further in the next run. In games like Dark Souls, where you die and go back to a bonfire, the goal is really to take things one bonfire at a time, so you can slowly get further and further. The biggest thing though that these all have in common is that you as a player learn to get better at the game. Jak 2 does none of these things. And this is where the 5 points really coalesce to where I almost rage quit from the game entirely. The mission types are repetitive and largely frustrating, thanks in big part to that gunplay system. Being unable to accurately aim leads to repeated deaths that feel cheap and that only adds to the repetition and frustration. Even when it comes to platforming, there's a level of trial and error to solve puzzles, but here a wrong turn leads to another death, which means back to the start, so you can do it all over again.
It's not fair. It's not fair, I tell you.
When you aren't in a mission, you're limited to using vehicles that aren't fun to control in a world that isn't fun to explore, ultimately making it feel like a chore just to start the next mission. Jak 2 feels like it's building towards something though. The platforming sections are still fun, and the story is strong and much more detailed than the first game. And like I said at the start, all of these new ideas are good ideas, but just almost all are poorly executed. 20 years ago, gamers had more time and patience, and it was visually stunning. Unbiased Metacritic user Jack C said it made all their other games look bad, except for Final Fantasy X, and jury's still out on iToy, apparently. Today though, with the quality of games of this style you can get your hands on, it does feel like the sun is set on Jak 2 if you haven't already played it. If you aren't going back to it for nostalgic reasons or because you're doing a full series playthrough, I can't think of any reasons why I would recommend it to someone today. I would say it's too late to play it in 2022. Now, if you're looking for a bit of a change of pace and you want to hear me say some positive things about Jak and Daxter, then check out this 2022 review of the original game. If you feel like helping me out so I can keep growing, a simple like on the video goes a huge way. You can also subscribe for more reviews just like this one. I post new videos every Friday. Thanks for watching.